Hey, what is up guys, Master here back to do another video, and today I'm going to do a cast of the series that Drive and Shoktrepet played. I want to cover this series because I heard it was pretty good and it was on R19 as well, so I'm always interested in seeing events held on R19. I believe this is the first real event on R19, so it's going to be interesting to see how these games will go. The first map will be Tournament Dust Bowl No Poker, and down here in the bottom we're going to be seeing Drive playing as the yellow GDI, and up in the top Shoktrepet going with Vanilla Nod. He's going to be red. Shoktrepet, haven't seen him on too often, could be a little bit rusty. Drive likewise has been a little bit inactive, but he has been practicing a lot with his teammate Futurama. Those two have excellent teamwork synergy. I'm just going to go ahead and turn this, just tweak this a little bit so it's not out of control, my mouse movement. As you can tell, I've got my scoreboard in the bottom left, you know, because modding things, I was able to replace that UI there. I'm using my Alt 4K add-on as well, so you're going to see different skins on neutral structures as well as a few other things as well, including the meme beam cannons with the rainbow RGB effects. But that's just as for a change, if I ever get bored of the original version. So nothing too much happening on this map. Of course, this is 1.02 eco still, so it's $3,000 refinery, $1,600 for a harvester. Just it means the early games extended a bit more, but it also makes harassment more worthwhile because it's more cutthroat. If you lose a harvester at this stage, it's pretty much game over. Both players have to be extremely on point to survive this stage, but don't have particularly good rushes. You really want to be going with the black hand if you're going to rush as a Nod faction for the veterancy on the flame tank. Bikes kind of have fallen out of the meta as far as the bike rush is concerned. You don't see players all in bikes, not that that ever worked against GDI. Rifles, this is annoying. Sometimes this can cause problems, but against Nod it's less of an issue because they can just build a hand of Nod and sell it onto the foxhole, and the ball will deal damage and destroy that. Not many people know that, or they do know but they just don't use it enough. It's pretty good damage. So I haven't really commentated many matches. I'm just going to give you all my chill commentary. Not particularly Cybert's level by any means, but I'm just going to give you all some insight into these games and my thoughts. I genuinely just want to check these replays out for my own curiosity. Stealth detectors going off there probably because of the harvesters, but pitbulls were not changed, so those shouldn't be showing. I guess it's the harvester, the stealth harvesters. Scorpion tanks for Shoktrepet. Interesting. Not going for a barracks after his third refinery. Is this a fourth refinery that he's just built? He's building a tier 2. Usually players go for a barracks after the third refinery. It gives you a little bit more protection against these sort of pushes. Pitbulls on one field shouldn't really work on Dust Bowl. It's too easy to defend on this map against such a push. Laser turrets as well are a thing. Is he going for quad turrets, I wonder? Man, it would be so awesome to see quad turrets at least once in this series from either side. But so far, things are shaping up to be Scorpion tanks for Shoktrepet and Drive in the bottom, just, you know, going mass eco. He's all out eco. Orcas would be a great option for him. Looking at his eco situation and what Shoktrepet is doing, Orcas with hard points would be an amazing unit. He could even get the sensor pod upgrade, which has been buffed in R19. Now it technically isn't buffed because it was nerfed in 1.02 plus. CGF just decided to nerf it without asking anybody when it's attached onto vehicles and structures. That is no longer the case. It's back to its original detection range, which I feel is good. In the 4K mod as well, you can see that the Nod garrisons show the player color. There's little details like this which make casting a bit easier. Rifleman standing in Tiberium. some really... I put a lot of attention to detail into the Scorpion tank as well. Even redrew that pattern on it. The damaged Scorpion tank texture actually had a higher resolution, so I merged that with the original tank, and I was able to trace the font enough to remake it as a vector. Man, that was really fun, that project. Trying to make the game look as good as possible without having higher quality assets. Not selling the second refinery is Shoktrepet, deciding to keep that around. He's not deciding to spam sculpts. I thought he was for a moment, but he only built them to defend against the pit bulls. A bunch of orcas coming in. Looks like Drive read my mind. He saw the scorps, and he's going into Shock's base. Shock has no defense against this. He sold his tier 2. He's going for an upgrade from his tier 3, but he's going to lose a lot of his halves here. There's no hard points for Drive. Never like to see players use pulse scan when they can just put down yeah, wow, guess the chemical plant. Nice work. That's $3,500, by the way. That's a really good pickup for Drive. That's like killing 2 harvesters. Those have bugger all health anyways. Dozer blades and laser capacitors, yet we don't really see that many units to take advantage of it. Oh man, I think it may be just worth selling off this tech lab and just building a second war factory and just spamming a lot of Dozer Scorps and laser buggies. Laser buggies are really going to get aircraft. He can do that and kill the orcas. Drive, meanwhile, he's got a tier 3. He's almost dry out of Tiberium. Despite these orcas, he hasn't been able to set up an expansion yet. I feel like he could have done that by now. Could have had an expansion refinery set up. It's not worth building another refinery on a field that's almost dry like this. Not a good placement to put your tech either. This has a tendency of causing bugs harvesters when you put buildings next to refineries docking. Stealth tank gets sniped. Gets 2 stealth tanks. Didn't pay too much for it. Nice work by Drive. Taking some good trades here. Stealth tanks being traded for orcas. A pretty good trade for GDI. Those are really hard to stop, otherwise you need zone troopers on the ground in your tip field. There's just way too many tanks here. For some reason Drive doesn't have many forces. He's got these orcas, but they haven't been able to accomplish crippling damage. They did kill 1 or 2 stealth tanks, but Shoktrepet somehow has the army. Drive doesn't have any ground forces. He's going for a Marv, deciding to take his field with the Marv instead of his opponent's. I would have put the Reclamator hub next to this refinery and tried to steal tip from my opponent's field while taking my expansion. Did he get railguns? He got railguns. More stealth tanks out for Shoktrepet. Drive has railguns, so these are going to be pretty good, but he's not reverse moving his tanks. He's going into this army, and this is going to be really, really good for Drive. It's sniping all of those Scorp tanks. All of the tanks fall, and suddenly Shoktrepet is the one without any ground forces left. He's got stealth tanks, but those aren't very good against Pred tanks with railguns. Focusing down that barracks would be a good call for Drive, but he does pop the harvester. 2 rocket squads there for Shoktrepet. The Marv comes out, and this is looking like a quick 1-0 victory for Drive, unless Shoktrepet can turn this one around. Does he have anything over here? No, he doesn't. He's got his tier 3 still around, so he can upgrade Tiberium core missiles. He's getting some snipes on these juggernauts. Oh man, these stealth tanks need to be careful. Gets 2 stealth tanks with 1 sonic emitter shot. That is unfortunate for him. Drive cleaned this up really well. Nice Orca control. Great reads from Drive. Does take out those stealth tanks. Drive going to put down a barracks. He's going to be able to claim that husk back. So Shoktrepet is just taking loss after loss here in this game. He needs to pick up a victory somewhere. But I feel like it's... I mean, yeah, he does still have a good shot at this game because he does have Tiberium somehow left in his field. He must have called in the C Tiberium. Nod players can basically summon in Tiberium with their chemical plant. Spectre gets sniped there by basically nothing. The Marv didn't really clean up a lot of this field. Maybe Drive's intending to harvest it with his harvesters. Look, see, he sent 5 there to grab that Tiberium. He's got an expansion in Shoktrepet's base, so he's going to deny him harvesting this field. 2 jugs there for him. And that's going to be it. Shoktrepet decides to throw it in despite having all of that Tiberium left. So that was a pretty interesting game. Shoktrepet went for that laser capacitors, but it didn't really spam units to make up for it. Like, he should have had an air tower as well to queue Venoms. Venoms would have been a better option if you don't have Tip Core. You could have just cleaned up those Orcas, even chased them back to the airfield and sniped them on the deck. It would have been a better option there. But yeah, pretty interesting game, and that's going to mean that Drive's going to be up in this series 1-0, and I can't wait to see what the next game is. Alright guys, and welcome back to game number 2, which takes us to Tiberium Rift. And on the left hand side will be Shoktrepet playing once again as the red Nod. He's sticking with his color, he's sticking with his faction, he's going to be Nod. So let's see if he can pull something off a little bit differently this time. Maybe he'll heed my advice, maybe he'll go for the Venoms with the same strategy again. Maybe he'll do something completely different. Nod is unpredictable, has a lot of strategies that it can do. And over on the left hand side, right technically, it's going to be Drive as the yellow GDI once more. Now I can't blame Drive, he did win the last game, so sticking with the faction you just won with is not a bad choice. Shoktrepet moving through the middle of the map there with 2 militants. Sometimes I just don't even bother to send militants out to contest rifles because they dig these foxholes, and then your militants just become wasted units. They move slower than the enemy scouts, so they can't really chase or anti-scout riflemen. Maybe just better off going for a raider buggy first, but that does stall your harvester by 5 seconds. Drive sending back all of his rifle scouts here. He's looking to anti-scout Shock. He's even digging a foxhole in this field here. I like to do this a lot when I'm going for rig strats, because this will make it so your opponent's barracks is going to get camped by the foxhole, so they can't respond to your rig as easily with infantry. MCV packing up for Shoktrepet. Powers down his refinery because he is expanding on a singular power plant, and if he doesn't power this down, it will take a lot longer to queue that harvester. He'll still be low on power, but it won't be nearly as bad. He's now going to deploy his MCV and queue that second power plant. Nice micro from Shoktrepet with these refineries doing the right thing. As for Drive, he's not going for a rig rush, I don't think. He's just going to expand. But he is building a pitbull. He's building more than one. He's on 3 harvesters. Did he send a 4th one to the blue tip? Yeah, he's got one there. Going to the blue Tiberium. This field does start off with no tip, but as you see here, it's now getting a few blue tip crystals. Shoktrepet has caught onto this. These guys probably have played a fair bit. He knows that there's a harvester here. Needs to be careful he doesn't splash down his own bike there. Bike does get pulled back. Nice micro from Shoktrepet. He seems to be pretty on point here. Though does lose an additional bike. Bikes don't trade that well against pitbulls. He's focusing the harvester when he needs to be killing the pitbulls. The harvester gets away with more than a full load of blue tip. That was a pretty good engagement for Drive, all things considered. He's going to be pretty happy about that. Shoktrepet could have been going for harvesters during this time, but he decided to go for the units. Instead, he's on 2 war factories. Shoktrepet's on 2 war factories. I haven't seen 2 war factories be a thing against GDI in such a long time, so it'll be interesting to see if he can make this work. He's building Scorps. Scorps against GDI. Is he building a tier 2 to buff them with Dozer Blades? Now, it does take a minute to upgrade Dozers because it's a $2,000 upgrade. So that is going to make it so his timing push is not going to work. He basically needs to deal damage now for this to work. Drive is queuing a 4th refinery by look of things. So maybe these tanks can make it happen. It's all going to come down to the bikes, I reckon. They're going to flank him from the bottom. Now, Drive will spot this. And probably thankful they didn't go to the blue Tiberium and kill that Harvester. Don't think that was meant to be rallied there. But he will get some nice Tiberium. Shoktrepet going to attack from two fronts. Drive knows about this attack because he had some well-placed rifles on the map. That's why you guys need to make rifles early on to scout the map so you don't get surprise attacked by bikes like this. Nice control for Shok. Does get a Harvester, but he's going to lose all of his tanks for that Harvester. Difficult to say if it was worth it or not. He does have a second refinery of his own set up, and Drive was allowed to escape with that blue tib. Now, what do we have as far as harvesters goes? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 harvesters there for Drive, with 2 on his Expo. So he's only on 7 harvesters. Shoktrepet has a way better harvester to refinery ratio on his expansion tip field. He's got a tier 2 down. Gonna upgrade dozer blades, I presume, because he's still building Scorpion tanks from his war factories. Orca Strike coming in for Drive. Now, I don't really agree with the Orca Strike use because it's just going to give Shoktrepet wind that there are, you know, air units out. He's just going to build by buggy now. There's Bloodhounds, though, for Drive coming in. They're going to land and deal damage to this force. The bikes may snipe them on inside the transports. They don't quite do it, though. No AP ammo for Drive. One bike does get sniped. Needs to focus the bikes down with the pit bulls, try and get some value with these forces. Pred tanks as well coming in. But there's no supporting units there for him to really make this push work. The shredder turret comes down here, not sure why. Probably a little bit of a panic placement, but these tanks are going to be more than enough to clean this one up here. I think he used the radar scan, that's how he's able to reveal this. There's a pit bull here though for Drive. He's going to be able to kill another harvester, so Shoktrepet only down to the 1 harvester on that field. Drive's going to be in a pretty good spot now. As you can see, he's now the one with 5 and 2 on his field. But Shok is researching laser capacitors. He's also got a air tower as well, so he's going to build Venoms this time. No stealth tanks. I like that more. 2 upgrades researching from his tech structures. One can presume it's going to be dozer blades and laser capacitors. Very interesting moves coming out of Shoktrepet. Not something you see working all that often against GDI. So let's see if he can make it work here. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, about 8 or 9 tanks. Not going to be too menacing, especially when Drive probably is on tier 3. He's going to be queuing mammoth tanks, and he can even put down sonic emitters. But if your micro is good enough as not, you can dodge sonic emitters with Scorp tanks, though. That's the easier said than done, but it is possible. Undefended Scorp tanks will be taken out. No hard points on the Orcas. Those dozer blades will give these tanks a little bit more armor against Orca rockets. 2 Venoms out here for Shoktrepet. They're just going to get suicided in, though. Maybe he's going to use them for spawning for a 1-click. And this is why I introduced the laser fence nerf in R19, to make this MCV move a little bit more punishing. So the moment this fence wears off, he's going to be able to quickly focus down the MCV because it will have normal armor then. But he's doing the smart thing, which is targeting down the pit bulls, because if he can destroy those, then the hammerheads are going to have no supporting units to kill those Venoms there. And stealth tank, sonic emitter doing some pretty sick damage, but it's not quite enough. There's another sonic emitter being queued. Laser fence still on that MCV. There's no more forces here for Drive. Drive needs to queue Orcas, AA turrets. He's got down another sonic emitter. That may just be enough, but perhaps not. Shok can just go around there and target the MCV again. 2 Venoms, needs to queue more of those. Shok has an expansion. He's going to get down a refinery. So he's been doing all this all the while, expanding. Nice multitasking by Shok. He's got a nice defense at his base. Double AA turret, no quad turrets, unfortunately. And this MCV still has its sonic propulsion field, which goes to show just how broken that was before I changed it. No tungsten shells for drive. He's going Juggernauts. Does he have a Marv out? Why would you build those? There's Scorpion tanks out on this map. Oh, he's got a second MCV. And he's gonna kill these harvesters as well. Drive really needs to get center poles more often, but that's going to still allow him to kill those units there. But there's no double A, and these Venoms are just going to pick off these Orcas. They may even kill the Harvester too, because there's just no anti-air here at all. Venoms really were the unit that he needed last game. Shoktrepet adapting well from that last game. This game, building Venoms. Great supporting unit for the Scorp tank. And Drive, I guess, now is struggling to gather resources. He just doesn't have an expansion. Shoktrepet hasn't really been expanding himself, but he's got a lot more Tiberium left to harvest. He's been taking more blue tip, I imagine. That's why he has the better army. But yeah, against these slow units, building Scorp tanks is the way to go. This is what I envisioned this matchup to be. If someone goes for 2 MCVs and a bunch of Juggernauts, then Scorp tanks with Venoms is going to shut that down. That's just how it should be. Nod is using its speed and mobility to counteract GDI's slow but heavily armored units. So there's a lot of asymmetry in this game, and it's better expressed, I think, in R19 than it was before. Venoms flying in do take out the husk. I quite like that. The elite Venom was destroyed, which is a shame. And Drive yet still has to establish a refinery. He's down here desperately trying to stop Shock from harvesting this, but I don't think Shock really minds. He's got a refinery up here with Tiberium regrown, so he can just queue his harvesters up there and just take this tip. More Venoms coming out. I like this move. He's just continuing to spam units with laser capacitors, because those are the units that have the tier 3 upgrades. That Juggernaut is going to be left out alone and taken out. No railguns for Drive, nor does he have any like ground forces to take out these Scorps. Needs Pred tanks, needs Orcas or Hammerheads. Sonic emitters would do the trick too. A mine drop coming in, but unfortunately does use it next to the watchtower, so that will be revealed. These Venoms are being extra annoying. Oh, there's the elite Venom, unless it went elite before, I'm not quite sure. Does get destroyed now. And Drive, he's just being non-stop harassed. He's not being allowed time to get down his expansion, and that's going to allow Shoktrepet to build up these Scorpion tanks. And he's just going to roll into this field and take out the Harvesters. Another Harvester dies to the mine drop. That's a rarely used support power when it comes to Harvester harassment. I remember Flame Dreamer used to say to me it was the best thing in the world, using it on one refinery to rush your opponent with. But then he plays Xbox and no one can stop their harvesters in that version of the game. By the way, rest in peace Xbox Online players, because that server is going to go down apparently. I don't play Xbox 360 Kane's Wrath, but it's sad to hear that the servers will no longer be functioning for the Xbox version of this game. Now, to be fair, they did last a lot longer than the PC version. But the thing is, the PC version had a substitute. On Xbox, I doubt it ever will get one. Not enough Pred tanks to deal with the overwhelming Scorp army. Those are going to get destroyed, and Drive's just going to throw in the towel. That's going to be GG. So Shoktrepet is going to level the series 1-1. And it's a really nice classic Nod versus GDI series so far. Let's see if it's going to continue that way, or if either side are going to switch things up. Hey guys, and welcome back to game number 3, which takes us to 6th City. Now, I don't know how Cyber does these long casts, but I had to stop there for a breather, get a glass of water, because it is really warm here, and it's easy to get dehydrated. This summer has been excessively hot, but I've got a fan here running. Unfortunately though, I'm using a software that cancels out the fan noise. It's the one that comes with my driver. It's called NVIDIA Broadcast. It's really good for taking out and removing background noise. Allows me to stay cool while doing this cast. But yeah, onto this game. In the bottom, we're going to be seeing, I presume, Shoktrepet once more playing as the Vanilla Nod. He's going to be sticking with Vanilla Nod, is Shoktrepet. And Drive, I guess, not much has really changed with him either. So it's going to be GDI versus Nod. Guys, I don't think you can really complain about that. If there was ever one matchup that was on repeat, this one is probably one of the more desired ones to watch. Now, this was the only matchup that you could play in the first C&C game, of course, unless you like mirrors. But I think mirrors are boring in general. Just, you know, my cup of tea. Not my cup of tea. I just don't like mirrors, okay? There's just not one mirror which I like. Nod mirrors, not my thing either. There's too many Scorpion tanks in that for my liking. But though, I like it when it's marked of Kane against another Nod faction, because then you can go for some really cool cybernetic leg strategies with fanatics and blow up the enemy tanks with fanatics. It's so great seeing that. I have a video on my channel where I did just that. It's one of the funnest strats in the game for me. Is this an all-in for Shock? No, he's going for a flame rush, but sold his tier 2 off without building a flame tank. So he's doing the Dirty Dutch tactic, which is to fool his opponent into thinking there's a flame tank when he's just not building any. I presume this is to burn down the spike. Drive is scouting around the place. Now, never mind, scratch that, he did build the flame tank. Often you see players not build this and just quickly pop down their second ref while their opponent is frantically building units to counter a flame tank which isn't even coming. Now, he's hiding in the trees here. Does Drive see this? Oh man, Drive doesn't see that. He does not see this. He's moving a Pred tank into position, probably thinks there's one going to the tip spike. He's positioning his tank somewhere. That flame tank just went all sneakily through that forest there, but he's going to lose his stealth and going to go for that power plant. No, not the greatest victory, I must say, but does actually get 2 harvesters which were snacking up with those spikes. Man, I would have pursued those down. He really needs to deal damage. Letting GDI off the hook on this map is not a good thing for a Nod, because they're just going to get base pushed by Pred tanks, and in Shoktrepet's position, that's not a good thing. I just saw on the minimap, Shoktrepet placed his second ref on the second Tiberium field, so he's doing a bonus route. Now, bonus route used to do this all the time back in the day, and it always confused me, because he's going to have harvesters queuing up on his first field when he could have had a second ref there to, you know, have the harvester docking. Bit of harvester bugging action happening for Drive, but that's not really a real bug because it does correct itself if there's one already queuing and docking in the harvest in the refinery. 3 Pred tanks for Drive. Drive's just going to casually get down an airfield. Now, is this scouted? Is he going for a rig? Is he going to make Leaf happy and build that rig? Where's the rig, man? You can't do this and not build a rig. No rig. Oh man, why'd you gotta do this to me? No rig, that just makes me sad. AP ammo is on the way though. Nice against the rockets. Probably could get a grenadier and put it inside of an APC. But shadow tanks are really good against garrisons. He should start focusing down this building here, because it's going to be a nuisance if he doesn't. Oh, he's got a grenade. Drive built a grenade squad. Needs to put it inside of the APC. This did get a health buff in R19. But it's still not going to make it good enough to take out a Black Hand squad. Though Leaf is almost speaking too soon, as it almost did just that. Imagine if it had killed that. Those rockets would have all died to the AoE damage. Orcas returned back to base. They did kill a harvester by the look of things. Pitbull's moving in. Shock has got a second ref on his expansion. This attack was faulted. Drive hasn't got an expo. He's got his refinery down here, but that's not going to give him ground control. That airfield needs to be sold off, because he's not going to be able to put a ref there otherwise. This garrison super annoying. He may even get the Orca, but it is receiving repairs from that airfield. Does just make it live. Nobody yet has taken the blue Tiberium. Shadow tank and Pred tank, he's going to get those back to base for repairs. And does sell off the airfield. Could get a combat support airfield down, man. That would be really nice to see. Those have way more health in R19, but he decided to place down a real one. Pred tanks in the expo. He could try and crush the rockets. I like what Shoktrepet's doing here, targeting down the pits so the tanks can't reveal the harvesters. But there are 2 additional pit bulls coming in, and those should finish off these halves here. What was that? Shadow teams? Oh man, that's really the wrong target. It should have gone for the airfield. What was he thinking? Maybe Drive will think it's something else, but oh man, that's super unfortunate. If Drive falls to this whilst docking, I'm going to be amazed. But yeah, Drive is a bit preoccupied in the back of Shoktrepet's base, taking out more of his harvesters. Lots of damage being exchanged by these 2 guys in this game. The last of the Pred tanks do get cleaned up. Both players retain their spikes, and oh, he gets the Orcas. Or he gets one of the Orcas, or 2. There's 2 debris there. Not shabby. Remember, shadow teams get experience for that. As you can see, it's still showing the GDI rank there. A little bit of a glitch. Garrisons on this map, pretty amazing. The Confessors shoot better now. They have received a change, which Hostile said I should sneak into the patch, but it's not really sneaking in, it's just fixing a bug that existed, where the Confessor moves really weird because it didn't pass through other infantry before. Every other infantry unit in the game used to do that, aside from the Confessors and Confessor Cabals, because, well, EA just forgot to do it. So those are much better now. Harvester, oh man, that's gonna get sniped. I've lost count how many harvesters both sides have lost in this game. But Drive is all in. He's going triple War Factory. And Shoktrepet is still making use of the shadow teams. He's got 2 shadow teams still alive, so he can keep bombing power plants. Does Shock have anything to hold this army? Nope. He needs a tier 3, and he needs it now. He needs some amazing play with like maybe an air tower and a bunch of infantry with a voice of Kane statue to buff them. He needs something along those lines, Obelisk of Light, but this is a good start. Drive going into the heavily defended area of Shoktrepet instead of the exposed base where there are no defenses. Could go into these buildings, but it's just going to stall the inevitable. Drive is just walking through this map with not much to oppose him. He's pulling back. Why is he pulling back here? Maybe he's just really annoyed about these shadow teams. Maybe he doesn't realize that his opponent has nothing aside from the infantry. Mind you, that is quite a bit of him, but the shadow tanks do critical damage to infantry when bunched up. Shoktrepet is moving out of his base. He's going to move into this force. Not particularly wise. He's the one who has to be a bit more cost effective until he can get down on tier 3 and a bunch of avatars, but Drive's all in. And he may even be low on power now. This force was repelled. Drive beaconing there, but he's beaconing an engagement where he had way more units. He could have just crushed this force. Like, there was not much to stop him. Well, there is triple rocket garrison there. That's very annoying to deal with. The shadow tank's still alive. Shock needs to focus that one down. They got a bit more rocket armor now compared to before. But man, these garrisons are really, really paying off for Shoktrepet. One of those rockets has been promoted to elite. If that goes heroic, then it's probably going to be game. Oh, it goes heroic. Drive. I would put these now in that building. That would be amazing. Drive does get his MCV back out, so this game is definitely not over just yet. Drive does have his eco intact still. Needs to watch his MCV. MCV fence has dissipated, which means he's going to quickly lose it. That MCV falling to the R19 nerf where the fence doesn't make MCVs invincible. It's kind of strange, I guess, seeing your MCV die, because it never used to happen before. Shadow tanks, absolutely incredible at killing infantry that are all bunched up like this. That's enough shadow tanks at this point. Needs to transition now into APCs and go on the counter-attack. Really action-packed game, this one. Did the shadow teams in the end get destroyed? I think they did. Whilst that was all happening, power plant there upgraded. If that falls, that's going to be pretty bad for Drive. Drive's onto War Factory. Does Shoktrepet have anything else to defend? He's got just infantry, so he's all in as well. Those shadow tanks are going to be almost impossible, I reckon, to stop. I think Drive finally knows that his opponent's all in, so he's just going to queue a lot of APCs now. These shadow tanks shouldn't be destroyable if they're microed. Yeah, see, he's just going to use those to kill the infantry that are bunched up with the shats. Like, he's killing a lot of them with those shadow tanks. That additional rocket armor on the shat tank is going to make it much easier for GDI to combat infantry spam like that. And of course, I had to consider it since the hammerheads were getting changed. You know, even though it's a measly 5% range nerf, I still didn't want to compromise GDI's anti-infantry capability by any means. Commandos are better as well, so you can build those. But the reason why the hammerhead got nerfed in the end is because the locomotives were changed over the years and the hammerhead. Plus, a couple of tricks were found where if you waypoint kill enemy infantry or units, the hammerhead just switches targets instantly without waiting for the AI to do it for the player. And there are several other things as well. So of course the hammerhead now targets infantry over vehicles, whereas in 1.02 it didn't discriminate targets, it just targeted whatever. These shats are just gonna waste this army. There's nothing left now. This is way too many units now. Shoktrepet is going to throw it in, and that's going to be GG. That was a pretty action-packed game on 6 City. I didn't realize that game was going to go so long and be so close. Drive ahead for the majority of that game, but hesitating to, you know, pull the trigger until the very end, and that's going to be GG. So that's going to put Drive up 2-1 in this series. Shoktrepet has to claw his way back into this series. I'm not sure if it's a best of 7, but it probably is a best of 7. So yeah, let's go on to the next game. Alright guys, we are back and Drive is currently up 2-1 in this series. I don't think it's a best of 7, but you'll know by now, based on the video title, what series it is. I just want to cast this because it's fascinating to see the games from these two pro players on a new patch. Doesn't differ dramatically from R18 and 1.02 plus, or what it used to be, but there's enough change that the metagame can change, and we're seeing unique strategies from both sides. The Scorpion tanks in that Rift game, for example, was something you'd never see before against GDI, or at least against good players. The Scorp tank strats wouldn't work. So in this map, in the bottom will be Shoktrepet as the red nod once more. Don't really need to introduce these guys at this point because they are both sticking to their guns, to their factions. It is yellow GDI for Drive. Gets down a War Factory. This is going to be Tiki Turmoil, one of Technique's best designed maps. There is a defensive tower here for Drive, and they are the alt skins of those. I have for the second time zoomed into those, but it just makes a change. This is the one they had in the C&C3 campaign. I, you know, repurposed it for the multiplayer because why not? Why not, right? Doesn't affect gameplay, so it doesn't matter if I have this skin or another skin. It would have been awesome if they had more than one option for skins, like they have the Kane edition toggle. But imagine if there was more of that integrated into the game. We could have had skin packs where both players could see those skins, not just the player who has them installed. Man, so many wasted potential in this game. Or C&C4 could have been much more as well. It could have been a real successor to C&C3 based on the files in C&C4. It looked like they were going with a true successor at first, but then they quickly just, you know, shoehorned that other game into it, C&C Arena, I think it was known as before it became formally C&C4. Such a shame, such a shame. I don't think the developers really intended it to be a successor to C&C3. I mean, where did the screen go? The screen just vanished. The Tiberium. There's so many plot holes. Oh, so you're telling me there's no Tiberium left? That's the whole reason people like this game in the first place. The Tiberium. They want to know that they're in a post-apocalyptic world with an unknown mineral that causes untold amount of damage. And with that alien invasion, things were just getting started, but nope, it came to an abrupt end with C&C4. That was that. I pretend to believe it doesn't exist. This to me is the last game of the C&C Tiberium universe. That's why I spent countless hours remastering every unit and structure with no regret, despite the time and effort it took. But in this game, we see there's a bunch of Scorps. Maybe he was expecting Pibbles to be in here to kill the Harvester, which sometimes players do. You could, imagining in the late game, you can build a Zone Trooper and just jump down there and kill the Harvester. Maybe could be a good option as GDI to harass your opponent's Harvesters with instead of building Pitbulls. You can detect non-Harvesters with Zone Troopers if you get scanner packs. I like this play from Shoktrepet. He's going to kill this. There's going to be no Buzzer Swarm coming down. This is the risk of doing just this against Skrinners. They can just use a Buzzer Swarm and you're forced to build another Black Hand. But GDI had no such answer to units immediately. Drive going to go ahead and harvest this tib. He's been at it more than once, judging by the amount of Tiberium left there. Shoktrepet is taking his tib. Drive not going for an airfield this game. In fact, yes he is. He's calling in the Orca Strike. Players use this just to scout most of the time. 3-4 Harvesters for Drive. Just massing Pred tanks. Not a lot of action. These guys are very aggressive. One click coming down on dry space takes out a refinery, and the devastating chain reaction of the Catalyst missile does absolutely nothing. They educate you in the campaign that this is the devastating the effects of the Catalyst missile, but it's not. It just kills Harvesters and refineries. For gameplay reasons, I guess they had to tone that down. Much like the Cloaking Field does less damage against heavy infantry, in the code it's set up to do only 25% of its damage to heavy imp. So we've got to make concessions for balanced gameplay. Laser Venoms online for Shoktrepet. Drive just not able to get out on this map. There's now laser capacitors out. Drive needs to switch to Pred tank spam, Shatterers. Shadow tanks deal amazing damage to Scorps. But let's see what he decides to do here. For some reason he doesn't have anything. He's going for a tier. He's going for MCVs. He's going multi-MCVs, so this would have been the quote-unquote the meta. But I don't think it's going to work here. Mine drop coming in. But the Sonic emitter will detect that. This detects stealth. Drive microing his Harvester, but the Sonic emitter is going to get a nice shot off there. Kills almost 2 tanks. Probably would have killed both actually in R18. But I like it. These weren't even a unit in GDI versus GDI before. These Scorpion tanks. Mav tanks now out for Drive, and that's really the hard counter. Those are going to easily shut down Scorpion tanks. A lot of those tanks, they're going to be destroyed. The Venoms are going to provide nice support. There's a lot of them. But if you don't have enough Firehawks or Stratofighters to, you know, jump out of there, you're going to lose them to the Venoms. Venoms indirectly buffed due to that Stratofighter cost increase, which is a unit that I felt needed some care. I didn't want to change its stats because I knew that the Mock Venom would become OP because its upgrade is really insane. One random Spectre there for Shock. He's going to start laying down some hurt on this MCV. The moment that fence wears off again, it's going to mean this MCV is going to be falling relatively quickly. He can just focus that one down with his forces and get out of there before the Sonic emitter comes down. So Drive, he's now got his railguns, but the MCV falls. So that's the previous meta that we saw dominate before, just get completely shut down by tier 1 units. Drive not able to combat Scorpion tanks with 2 MCVs. So I feel vindicated. I feel like I've accomplished my goals. That you know, there is a solid counter and answer to an MCV. It's not like before where if you laser fence an MCV, it becomes impossible to destroy. And sending in the Firehawks one by one is never a good idea against Venoms. Not sure why he's doing that. He should have got tungsten shells. It would have been a better answer to this, rather than Firehawks. He's got railguns though. And again, he needs Strato. Otherwise, this is just wasting units. Drive being extremely wasteful. He doesn't have any MCV on his expansion anymore. He's calling in Bloodhound, so he must be floating a lot of cash. He's been long leeching Tiberium. A bunch of Venoms here for Shoktrepet. And so far, it's looking like Shoktrepet is going to level the series. So let's see if that turns out to be the case. Another one of these Hawks getting destroyed. Drive's micro not on point. Juggernaut out for Drive. He's just trying to take his field and push Shock off of it. Shock is untouched at his field. Just no damage being inflicted there. Oh wow, look at that. Mammoth tank just owning that Scorpion tank by jumping on top of it. Could send it into this base and start ravaging these harvesters. Put a center pod on top of it. And no hard counter yet to the Venoms. Tungsten shells and like 1 on 2 slingshots would have been a way better answer than these numerous Firehawks that you kept building and losing. I would only build Firehawks if you have Stratofighter. It's just a waste of time if you don't, because they're going to get destroyed. Tier 3 does get sold, so he's no longer going to be able to build these Mammoth tanks. Now, Mammoths do have anti-air capability. They can destroy air units. But I feel like it's too late now for Drive to go back for an MCV. He's going to have to go all in and try and take out Shock's expansion. Try and deny Shock from getting eco at his second expansion. Venoms could go back to base 4 repairs. Drive going to destroy this tip spike. Looks like Shoktrepet took that from him, which is unfortunate. Not only do you get an ult spike there, but also a 4K repair tool icon. As you can see, it's extra crisp. I actually remade that from scratch, as I did with these icons for the infantry and formation preview stuff, because it just looks better. You can see here with the rocket squad, all of those were redone. So that's going to be it. Drive loses that one. We're going to be once again 2-2, so these guys have leveled the series, and we're going to go into the 5th game and see if it can continue to be as visceral and action-packed as it's been so far. Alright guys, and welcome back to game number 5, which brings us to Tournament that map. Exactly, that one, I don't know how to say it, but it's the map you all know. And up in the top right will be Drive as the yellow GDI, in the bottom, you've guessed it, Shoktrepet, red nod. Now this is a very pretty map made by Predator. Something that I really could do in the future is remove these health bars, override this stuff in a mod. So these don't have health bars on them. It would make the map nicer, but there's a lot of things to override, including the road segments by the look of things. But yeah, that's a little bit frustrating when all health bars are enabled. That's basically my only gripe with this map, but it is resolvable. So there's a missile there as well. Pret had some very creative ideas. I love the underground road there with the nice use of rivers. There's a tip spike for either side on this map, and you can even destroy these tip crystals. I was destroying them once. They actually are destroyable, believe it or not. You don't get Tiberium. I also forget that infantry can only pass through this narrow choke point unless a vehicle crushes these barricades, which is sometimes frustrating, especially when you're descent rushing, because I believe units can fire in, but you can't approach the enemy unit. So it's like walls in previous C&C games, only it's just for infantry. Raider buggies. One is out for Shoktrepet. You can see the illuminated cockpit there with the green display. The buggy driver is, of course, paying great attention to his driving there. Just eco for Shoktrepet. Is he going for a second war factory? Now, knowing that Pret maps are, they have their expansions very wide apart, it's easier to punish your opponent if he expands. Drive, is he going for a war factory himself? No, he's going APCs. Oh man, this was read completely great by Shock. He's got 2 war factory and Drive's going APCs. This could not be any better for Shoktrepet. I really do like how the player color stands out on this map, or as we like to call the house color. It's just really great, the lighting. If you do lighting properly in C&C3, graphics are incredible. Even this many years later on. And the bloom effects as well. Aged very well. MCV moving out for Shoktrepet. Drive, he's got these APCs, but he's going to be disappointed to learn that there's already a force there waiting for him. I don't think Shoktrepet's aware of it just yet. Oh, he is now. There's 4 tanks there. He's just going to run into these tanks. 1 pitbull dies, but yeah, there's just way too many tanks now. The tank numbers are just way too great. Shoktrepet knows those mines have been planted. You can hear the mine drop sound as the opponent. He's going to get some nice repairs into his war factory. He's going to be feeling pretty good about that. And Drive, I imagine, as a result, will be pretty behind. He does have a refinery, but army-wise, not as good as Shoktrepet. Shoktrepet should definitely go on the counter-attack, make Drive not invest in harvesters, but instead units. This will give Shoktrepet time to get down his economy. He is yet to put down a refinery. He's going to let his harvester go back to the first field here. That's never good. I've never seen this garrisonable building before. There's several of them on this map that I haven't seen anywhere else besides this map. APC falls, pitbulls and rockets, not the unit you want to be seeing against Scorps. And this is really fascinating. Scorpion tanks actually pulling through against GDI, and these are just Scorps as you've always known them to be. The read from Shoktrepet was great. He knew that there was a bunch of APCs coming, and he went to War Factory Scorps. He just stopped it, and the counterattack is proving to be very difficult to stop. Now, the rockets ultimately will hold off the rest of this force. In fact, the army just evaporated for Shoktrepet. He lost all of those tanks. Maybe it just overextended there. Could have gone back to base after killing that harvester. Blue tip is growing in the bottom. I again can't stress this enough. This is a very beautiful looking map. Shredded turrets down. I'd like to play it more often, but you know, I often just play the regular standard maps. No quad turrets yet, guys. Despite it being an upgrade, you can see here quad turrets. Maybe Shoktrepet's unaware of its existence. I've also found players in 4v4s don't do it either. Harvester there will be... Oh man, if he doesn't get that, that's just disastrous. He's losing all of his tanks. And for what? There's not even... It's one dead Harvester, but everything is going down now. He kills one Harvester and loses his whole army. Drive once again needs to rebuild his army. He's going for pit balls for some reason. He needs pred tanks. There's Dozer Blades now online, as well as a tier 3, so expect to see laser capacitors relatively soon, as well as Venoms. He's just going to repeat the same as he did last game. A Harvester going to be destroyed. Looks like Drive missed it. But this is some pretty aggressive strats coming out of Drive. He's relentless. So I guess his strategy is to just expend forces non-stop while he's left untouched in his base. Flame tank in Drive's base will take out that refinery, but he didn't really need that ref in the first place. Is that a stealthed flame tank? No, he just made one random flame tank. If he gets this, that's going to be great if he gets a second power plant. Oh man, that's great. 2 power plants and a refinery. What looked like a bad flame tank harass is now a great one. Drive's going to be low on power, but he can upgrade this power plant with the advanced turbine upgrade. And Shoktrepet's hurt. He's only got 3-4 harvesters on his expo. He's building up these Venoms. You can see the nice glow there on that air tower. Took a while to get that fixed. Had to separate the glows into different meshes. No laser capacitors online for Shock. It's not wise to engage without that. You got your tier 3. It's just a wasteful... Yeah, he's got it now, but he could have held off from attacking just for a bit longer. Could filter these tanks out and just send them back to his base for repairs. He's got like half a dozen tanks there, which he can just send back to base. They're one shot away from being destroyed. Mine drop being deployed in this field, but the harvesters have just sniped those down. Venom's once again coming in for the harvester raids, and it is now Shoktrepet being a nuisance. He's on the counter attack, and Drive, I feel, when he's not on the attack, he just seems to be a bit shook. He doesn't do too well. Harvester not mining, that'll get destroyed. Shoktrepet has probably recovered his income in this time. He's got 2 harvesters harvesting a dead field pretty much. He still retains both of his spikes. The same can be said for Drive. As you can see, he's got his spike there. And I keep thinking this is a tier spike because it glows green on the map, even though it's not of any importance. Power plant's being destroyed, and what was that? Was that a shadow team? Oh no, it's just a Spectre. He's going to bomb this refinery with a Spectre. And there's an obelisk out here, just going to harass these harvesters. So yeah, Shoktrepet's in a commanding position now. Because of Drive's wastefulness, he was not cost effective at all at any point in the game. So look at the tip difference between both sides. Shoktrepet just had the much better trades, and he's been much more cost effective. He's just made the better units. Drive kept trading no damage for all of his armies, and it's now having the effect that Shock was looking for. There's no Tiberium left for Drive, and Shoktrepet can fund this for days. He's got so much tip left to go. Drive once more beaconing whatever he was beaconing. There's 2 jugs out, mammoth tanks out with railguns. But unless there's an MCV down in the bottom for Drive, he's going to be having no Tiberium left. The Marv is on low health, soon to be in that heavy damage mode if it gets shot up by those obelisks. But the obelisks are focusing down the mammoths, which is good. I prefer that to just targeting the Marv, which has way more health. Obelisk coming down a stream of them. 2 jugs though, which will support this force. The Marv is really the grunt of this army for Drive. Needs to get engineers into it. He's got a second engineer about to go into that Marv. He's got the railgun turret by selling the Reclamator hub. But since he doesn't have a war factory, queuing another engineer into this Marv wouldn't be a bad option. But the moment that other obelisk comes down, it's going to be pretty bad news for him. This Juggernaut is almost going to go down. And this Marv is shot, so he goes down. Yeah, that's it. The Spectres must have destroyed it. As you can see, it's got a veterancy rank. I expect Drive will throw it in now since the Marv was destroyed. But yeah, that goes to show you can't just throw away units forever. Because resources are limited and you're going to run out of them eventually unless you take an expansion. But Shoktrepet didn't allow him to expand because he made that flame tank. So he could have just killed the MCV at the field if Drive had sent one there. So great play from Shoktrepet, great reason to start with the APCs, killing those with the Scorpion tanks. The 2 war factories definitely paid off for him, so he's going to be taking a nice lead in this series. It's going to be 3-2, Shoktrepet in the lead now. Let's see if he can continue the lead or if Drive can pull it back once more. Alright guys, and we are back to game number 6, which takes us to Tournament LA, and nothing has changed. Aside from the scoreline, Shoktrepet up here will be up in this series now, 3-2. So let's see if what that does to either player's momentum. Drive, for the first time, will have to play on the back foot. In fact, did he ever play on the back foot? I can't remember this series. I've just been so lost in it by the fact that it's been really action-packed, and I've had a real blast watching it. It's been entertaining. I've been enjoying the strategies that have been on show, but there are a few games left, so let's see what happens. This building will be taken here by Drive. Of course, he's Jedi, he's going to get the fastest scouts. He's going to secure both buildings in the middle quite easily. Shoktrepet is going to have to settle for this one just to stop him from building foxholes in the base, which is very annoying as Nod. Let's see if Shoktrepet decides to go for a Flame Rush or a Flame Reckoner. Against Jedi, probably not going to work, but he's not building a bike, so I'm just guessing he's ecoing. Smart call. He's going to eco up with that advantage that he has. And Drive down here. Oh, man, I would love to see an all-in rig rush. I don't think Drive ever has done it, but you basically go 4 harvesters, you queue a pred tank, and then an APC. Then you build a rig and an airfield, and then sell your MCV. Queue 1 hammerhead, and then 4 orcas, and then pitbulls behind your rig. Or you can go for pred tanks. Actually, pred tanks is better, I found. But there's a lot of variations to it. The one I mentioned is the one that I consider to be the strongest. I mean, you guys, if you do that, will just probably win every game, but it takes some serious stopping to stop that. You need to also ensure that your rig doesn't die on the map, and the hammerheads just contain your opponent, stop it from building infantry and mass. You got to have foxholes in their base already, just stopping them from building up infantry. Bloodhounds as well is a necessary support power because it comes with 2 veteran APCs or 2 veteran Wolverines, but I don't rate Wolverines that highly. Maybe now they're a little bit better because the cover bonus is a little bit more. What do you mean by cover bonus, Leaf? Well, all infantry in the game get more armor by going near buildings, and this has been a thing since forever. It's a mechanic that was never really used too often, but the only vehicle to make use of such mechanic is the Wolverine. So the Wolverine is the only vehicle that can get more armor by being next to these structures. Maybe because it's a walker, an infantry walker, something like that. But you can get a more armored Wolverine by just stationing them next to foxholes, rigs, anything of that nature. But they don't have much armor to begin with, so you're essentially increasing not much by not much. Never really noticeable. Good damage though by the Wolverines. These Scorpion tanks will chase back these pits. No bother. Shock's really on point, but he's going to lose a harvester. Yeah, I'm saying that, but then Drive hitting him from 2 sides will score himself a harvester. Doesn't lose any pit bulls aside from the 1. So great trade there for Drive. Drive will see exactly what's going on. I like this move here by Drive. He's going to conceal his MCV. And 1 moment, guys. This is probably to make his opponent think that he was going for like an aggressive strat, but he wasn't actually doing that. And I need to clear my throat. Wow. I don't know how Cybit casts for so long. It doesn't have any issues, man. I always get some issues after a prolonged casting. Just lose my voice after a while. But yeah, it looks like we got a little harassment here for Shock. 3 bikes, didn't accomplish very much. Nice split on the refineries. I thought for a moment he couldn't spread those out. I was criticizing his rev placement, but he actually managed to get a good one there. No mutant hovel from either side grabbed. Drive, he lost maybe 1 harvester? I don't know. Maybe he sent one to the blue Tiberium. There's one there. Okay. He's taking blue tip. He's got 4 tanks to escort that safely back home. This is a good garrison to take for defense. Not sure why Technique put it there though. Something I like to do is, as Scrin, is build an emissary, or what's the equivalent, the explorer, with a descent rush, and just use the explorer to crush the fence so I can shorten the time it takes to get to the enemy spike with the synths. And then I deploy the explorer and sell it off for the $750. I get the buzzer and $750, so I only pay a little bit more and I cut down the time it takes to get to his spike. I'm not sure if it's worth the hassle, to be honest, but it is an option and it looks cool and I like it. No Dozer Blaze just yet for Shoktrepet. He's still going with this Scorpion tank strat. There's a bunch of units on the left hand side. He's going to find the MCV. Shock's going to find Drive's MCV. Does a lot of damage there. Drive may even lose this. He's not paying attention. MCV falls. Oh man, that's crippling for Drive. He doesn't even... I was about to say he doesn't even have another MCV, but he's got 2 airfields, so it doesn't even matter if he loses the MCV. It will matter if he loses harvesters. He's lost 1. Still hasn't responded to his harvesters being destroyed. What is he focused on? There's tanks moving in, but Drive's completely out of position there. Takes out another harvester. These bikes doing catastrophic damage, but this field is still overly saturated, so he still does have good income drive, but not enough tanks, not enough hammerheads. And there's now Venoms coming out, and I don't believe there's a barracks to put rockets inside of these hammerheads, so there's just no anti-air now to deal with these. He can build APCs, which I imagine is the top of Drive's mind, because he doesn't have rockets to put in the hammerheads. If he had missiles in those, then yeah, Venoms wouldn't even be an option. Hammerhead's going to take out those tanks, but he's going to get back to base as Shoktrepet and repair those ones up. He's got laser capacitors researching, but that's a long way to go yet. Drive needs to capitalize as much as he can before the lasers are done, because that's an upgrade that's going to win it for Shoktrepet if he gets that online. No quad turrets once again. I think he sold his tier 2 off. Oh, he's still got it, yeah, because he needs it for the SAM turrets, just in case Venoms don't do it for him. MCV back out for Drive. Laser capacitor is now upgraded for Shoktrepet, so he's going to once again build lots of laser Scorps, lots of laser Venoms. And these hammerheads are completely stranded. He's away from his anti-air support, and they're just going to chase down these hammerheads and destroy them. Yeah, Venoms are really good with that upgrade. They can kill hammerheads really quickly. All but one of the hammerheads dies. That force just got incinerated there. And the moment the upgrade is completed, yeah, GDI struggle. They need laser capacitors. They need, they need railguns. They need the Marv out. They can't afford to make mistakes. Really good strategy there by Shoktrepet. Not so much from Drive, especially after losing that MCV. Felt like that was a mistake, but another strat that we didn't see be as nearly as oppressive as it used to be was the hammerhead spam. That used to be a really oppressive strategy which shut down a lot of early game strats, but it's nice to see the laser capacitor Venom and Scorp tank prevail in that game. Of course, it's normal to see Venoms destroy hammerheads. They're designed to do that. And the Scorpion tanks were, well, they just cleaned up the 4 or 5 Pred tanks that were there. The bike flanks were really what did it for Shoktrepet in that one. So well done to Shoktrepet for winning that game. I'm going to go on to game number 7. There's a lot of games in this series, but I'm still going to include it in the one video. So let's go on to the next game. Okay everyone, I am back. And after a short break, I just realized this is a series that was sponsored by Shanks. Not sure if he goes by another alias, but he sponsors a show match between Shoktrepet and Drive. I think it was originally supposed to be me and someone else, but I was too preoccupied on the patch at the time. And it's nice to see someone other than Bike Crush participate in a show match, just because we all know that Bike will win them. Whereas these are a little bit less predictable. I feel like Drive and Shoktrepet can go either way. I reckon Shoktrepet was definitely the underdog in this series when it first started off, but yeah, he's definitely brought this one back here. It is an 8 game series, so it doesn't matter the score, but I believe the score affects the prize pool. So there is that. Both sides nonetheless will be playing once again as their staple Nod and Jedi factions. I do wonder if that was agreed upon by the host. I don't know the details. All I know is I wanted to cast this series and get some casting content out, because I've been providing you with a lot of my own gameplay, not so much me discussing others' games. If you want to see more content like this, then do let me know down below in the comment section. I guess it provides some more variety. It takes a little bit more effort with the scoreboards and stuff. But yeah, it's fun nonetheless. What definitely does take effort are videos that I had planned before I started doing all this modding stuff. You know, modding stuff as in, you know, remastering the game in 4K and everything like that. But I was going to do a 15 things you didn't know about Kane draft video. That I have made a pretty sick intro for. I'll probably still use that one, even though I have moved on since then. But I will use that and maybe do it again, because there's the 15 things back then are not what I would put today. But that's a project for a later period. I think it will be a well-received video. Raider Buggy coming in here for Shoktrepet. Just a scout drive in case he's going for an Orca strat, because he likes to build V35s in this map and take over the spikes of Orcas. Shoktrepet's right to go for a Raider Buggy. He probably made it originally to intercept one of the engineers. Shoktrepet knows that this is a thing from Drive. He's garrisoned both of his bunkers, so he's unable to take them with V35 Oxes. Shok's just on point in this match. Got the game music on, but it's kind of quiet. I suppose it wouldn't really interfere much with the overlaid music that I'll have. But this refinery, this is just going to pop up a battle marker on the screen for Shoktrepet. So this is going to make him go back to his base periodically, make him second guess what it is. It just is good for Drive, because he can now attack him from multiple sides. And the more battle curses markers there are, then the more likely it is for Shoktrepet to miss something. Tier 2 for Shok. He's not building a barracks after his refinery. This is something that differs from his build orders to others. But this map, he's not going for 2-war factory. He's instead going for a tier 2. Not upgrading dozers if that's what he's planning to do again. He got his EMP control center. Drive likewise has taken over his. A Pitbull coming in here to scout. He will see the double harvester. Shoktrepet moving in with his tanks. He's going for something. What is this? A refinery? It's a tech lab. Wow, he's going really quickly into stealth tanks. Is he building stealth tanks on through refineries? I imagine he's going to click him though, right? With catalyst missile. Oh, that's not an optimal placement for the refinery, but I guess he had no choice. It's either that or get both refineries destroyed. Does spot the flame tank. Drive will see that. And even one of the Pibbles gets destroyed on the retreat there. Flame Tank makes it out alive. Kills almost 2 Pibbles. And I still don't know what he's building. Both players using their EMPs. But there's an Avatar coming in here. Uses the cloaking field on the Avatar. Does crush 2 tanks. A 3rd tank poised to go down. That's an expensive Avatar right there. He just used a $3,000 cloaking power. Can he even reveal this? No, don't shoot. Just don't shoot them, man. Run them over. He can stop and shoot, which is fine as well. I'd get some repairs up on that. This is the sort of play I like to see. Equip that with your flame tank. You've got 1 flame tank at home. That's great to equip with your Avatar, and also equip it with a beam cannon. Oh, it's gonna be destroyed. Oh no, Shoktrepet, what are you doing? Oh, he doesn't see it. What is going on there? Okay, that was a bit of fortune. The Orcas are coming in. Uses the pulse scan. Pretty clutch game. Avatar lives. Stealth tank in the back causing problems. Pitbull will clean that up. Avatar needs some repairs. Might as well build a Redeemer facility and get the Redeemer out. Heal this Avatar up at the same time. Build a beam cannon. That's something that's really frustrating me. But Drive's army is getting bigger and bigger. He's only on 1 refinery though on his expansion. He's been leeching blue tip, as is Shoktrepet. Shoktrepet selling off that rev, gets 700 back. Because it's not supposed to be 500 back, it's supposed to be 700. Because $3,000 minus the cost of a harvester is $1,400. And what's $1,400 divided by 2? $700. It's only $500 in 1.01. Because the harvesters in that patch cost $2,000. So it's just something that EA forgot to do when they moved from 1.01 to 1.02. Technically a bug fix that took us that long to find. EMP gets destroyed there for Shoktrepet. This Avatar healed all the way up to full health. His expensive Avatar, is that the one that's stealthed? Or has he got that out somewhere else? Laser capacitors once again. He doesn't want to see those Orcas. I still don't quite know which one of them is the stealthed one. It's this one, because it has a flickering effect with its... It's because of the stealth detecting bone on the attack bike module. The game has issues with the spotlights, with the stealth detection and stealth and stuff like that at the same time. That's why the Plateau Assault Carrier has to disable its stealth detection thing when its Ion Storm's activated. They never patched that in Kane's Wrath. Interesting. Targeting a stealth tank, a spike with 3 stealth tanks when he can just go into the base and take out the 2 harvesters there. This is just going to draw in the Pitbulls. Maybe this is what he wants. Oh man, imagine if he equipped a beam cannon to his Avatar, stealthed it and just gone up right in front of the Juggernauts and just started shooting them. Oh, these Avatars are laying waste to this tier 1 Pred army. That force just got absolutely wrecked. Vertigos would be a good option, but there's already Firehawks out. Drive has built Firehawks. He doesn't have Stratifier boosters on those, but he's going to use them just to kill Venoms. Yeah. Venom's going to chase though. Not sure if he means to do that or what. We'll go for the Hammerhead instead. Wise choice. Drive has an expansion, double refinery setup on it. Jugs are going to cause a lot of damage to these forces that are bunched up. Not a good position to be in if you're Shoktrepet. He's going to lose all of his Avatars here. The Jugs are getting on top of them. Uses the radar scan to reveal what's going on. Is this an engineer? Imagine if that was an engineer that just popped out there and he just took over that husk the moment the Avatar fell. All the Avatars are down. And Shoktrepet in this match I feel like he can't bring it back anymore. He has a refinery established, but he lost way too much. There's even going to be husks reclaimed here for Drive. He's going to get 4 avatars. Oh, never mind, there's Firehawks. Yeah, I mean, it could have been worse, but not much worse. Drive summoning in the Bloodhounds, because he's going to go on the counter-attack. Shoktrepet needs a Redeemer at this point, I feel, to have any shot at holding this back. It's going to be a miracle if he somehow does it. This is looking like an unstoppable army from Drive. Drive also bringing in tons of income at the same time. He doesn't have an MCV though. He's got a war factory, which is all that matters. That probably explains why he summoned in the Bloodhounds, because he doesn't have, because he's got just so much resources and nothing to, you know, spend it on. No production. Redeemer engineer facility. Okay, that's a start. A bit late though. Needs stealth towers to try and make it look like he's got more than he actually has. Try and fool the GDI player. Mine drop there. If he kills all of the jugs with the mine drop, then there is a chance. But who knows? Who knows? There's 5 avatars. Nice micro here from Shoktrepet. Shoktrepet moments ago, remember, had nothing in this game. A EMP comes down on an avatar. MCV does withstand 1 EMP blast though. There's units still in the back there, but yeah, this force is quickly evaporating. Shoktrepet is going to fall apart here, I reckon. The Redeemer facility is taking huge damage. 1 avatar left. Nice valiant effort by Shoktrepet, but I don't think it's going to be enough. The 1 avatar that's left him will fall. There's 3, 4, 5 Juggernauts for Drive, and that's probably going to be it. He's just going to focus down the MCV, and that's going to be the game. So Drive takes a game, so it's not going to be as, you know, devastating as a result as I thought it would be. But Drive gets himself back on the scoreboard. What are we at now? Like 5-3? Or is it 4-3? Yeah. So it's not a whitewash for sure. It's a close series. That game was fun to watch, especially with the avatar. Would have been cooler if he had used the Commandeer technology, which is really underused, and I would like to see that be a thing more often. So let's go on to the final game, guys, and see what happens in that. Okay, so this is going to be the final game on Tournament Odyssey, and without further ado, let's get into this. It's, again, GI versus Nod on the most played map in the past couple of years. I like this map a lot, but I know it's overplayed to death. We saw a nice map variety today, which I think you guys will appreciate, and I hope that I did an okay-ish job at casting. Of course, it's been a long time since I've done this. Never was a good caster to begin with, but I wanted to see what these games were all about, so I decided to go ahead and cast them. Cyber as well hasn't really been active as far as casting Kane's Wrath goes. He's been not too active with the replays. I sent him stuff like a while ago and he's still yet to cast that. So that is a little unfortunate. But good news though, my internet seems to have improved 100% because I've got an antenna that I've got like stuck onto the window, and the signal of it is significantly better than it used to be. I'm getting 70 megabits per second even during the peak hours, which I never used to have. But it's all about reliability as well. I don't mind if I get 20, but as long as it's consistently 20 and not 50 down to 1 like it used to be, then that's what I'm looking for. I do use a wireless connection, but that doesn't mean it can't be reliable. It just means you probably need better equipment. Nothing's impossible. No option of fiber here, but this is my best option. spent an arm on stuff to get this internet working properly, but in the end of the day, it's either that or not use internet. MCV packing up for Shoktrepet. He gets an expansion down. Look at that 4K MCV in all of its glory, as you guys have seen a million times by now. But yeah, I never get sick of seeing these units close up. It's just something that I really had a lot of passion in doing. All of these units and structures. I spent time and effort and care on each one of them. Even the GDI harvester, you can see I've got the logo and the text, and the player color locations, and the Tiberium at the back illuminated, everything like that, even the reflections. It's a lot of work just for one unit. Drive, he's just ecoing up in this game. So this is the final match. He'll be looking to make this a 4-4. If Shoktrepet loses this one, it's going to be a tie, which would be really interesting. So I'm not sure who exactly comes out on top of this. I never got any clue or hint as to who won this series. But I guess we're hoping for Drive to make it a 4-4. If I'm to be unbiased. I like this foxhole from Drive. He's going to deny Shoktrepet the chance to grab this defensive structure. That's pretty smart from him. Second war factory for Drive before his 4th refinery. Probably not going to work. I mean, it might do. He's got a lot of tanks being made. But oh man, Shok's already on tier 3. Is he building Vertigos? No, he's going Venoms. Venoms are not much good against Preds though. Oh, this buggy's just going to go to the base. He's going to see the Pred tanks and the second war factory. Does Shoktrepet know of this? I'm curious. I'm going to go to his point of view. He's got this defensive tower. Oh man, when did he grab that? That's going to be annoying. It may kill 1 or 2 tanks. Or in the worst case scenario, Drive's MCV. The Drive spots it, he pulls back his tank, so that's not going to happen. Unless he's really not paying attention. Orca Strike coming down. This could be just a full Shoktrepet. While he goes railguns. That's a viable tactic. Yeah, he's building something from his airfield. This looks to be building too slow to be a unit. Probably hard points, because they did get a time reduction. A time increase for how long it takes to upgrade. Yeah, see, it takes 45 seconds to upgrade. He's going to start queuing those Firehawks. So he gets that online. And these Venoms are just doing some recon of the area. For Drive, there's a chem plant down. As you can see, that's got nice self-illumination on it. A feature that was added in a shader. GDI previously in Tiberium Wars was the only faction to have such a thing. MCV, you're going to get sniped by these Scorps. Oh wow, once again. Scorpion tanks just denying the multi-MCV play, though I think that was his one and only MCV. Nonetheless though, really good snipe there for Shoktrepet, capitalizing on that MCV being there. The tower also makes it awkward because Drive was probably trying to avoid the tower, while Shok was just going straight for the MCV. So Drive could have probably taken out that tower before, or summoned in a engineer and just landed an engineer next to it. Then he won't take any losses. This seems to be the go-to strategy for Shoktrepet. He's making this Venom Scorpion tank tactic work really well against Drive. Probably won't work so well against Bike Rush just because he's Bike, but So far, I'm liking what I'm seeing with these Scorpion tanks. And Drive hasn't got an MSV. He's going to have to queue one from his one and only War Factory. Redeemer out for Shock. So yeah, he's just capitalizing on his lead here. Things have gone from bad to worse for Drive. He's got railguns, but no second War Factory means he's going to be floating tons of cash. He's not going to be able to spend that as quick as he'd like. There's a Redeemer out, but I still feel like he's going to be fine with all these Pred tanks. I would like to see an airfield and sensor pods for his Orcas. Or Venoms get destroyed, so that just makes it even more appealing. The Scorp tanks get absolutely wrecked. Now one raise gen and things can go from bad to worse. That's a lot of Pred tanks with railguns. Just marching through this expansion. No tip vein to worry about because he did use it on the harvesters. A little bit of a cocky use of tip vein. Now, besides the Redeemer, Shoktrepet hasn't got a whole lot. He's got one Vertigo. Maybe he just bombed some stuff there. Went for the harvesters instead. The Redeemer is cloaked. Oh man, if that gets a raise gen off here, that's going to do so much damage. Is there a tier 4 on the way? Raise gen gets fired off. Most of the Pred army avoids it. And Drive, instead of the tier 4, went for a refinery. That's a bit of a mistake. He should have locked down that Redeemer and killed it. That's the only tank force that Shoktrepet has. Mine drop though. Oh man, that is a sick... When did he put those down? He just to put them down now. That's a really, really sick mine drop placement. Oh man, he just repelled that Pred force army with a mine drop. Absolutely genius that one was. Shoktrepet is still in this now. It looked like Drive was out of it, then he came back in, and now Shock's in trouble because he's losing his Redeemer. He needs to get his Redeemer out of there. There's no stealth detection for Drive. He doesn't have a radar scan. Oh, he just did use a radar scan there. Shockwave artillery for Drive on the Redeemer. Redeemer gets sniped. Vertigo sniping one of the jugs. Not quite enough though. The Redeemer falls. Shoktrepet doesn't have an expansion on the left hand side. This is his one in the game to be. And Drive has caught on to the strategy. There's 6 tanks there for Shock. Is the tier 3 still around? Yeah, it is. So I expect Sonic Mirrors to come down soon, or maybe even Guardian Cannons. As I demonstrated in that Tournament LA game that I posted not long ago, Guardian Cannons are the way to go against Scorpion tanks. Shock does still retain control of that tower. Scorps is the only thing that will do it for him. I mean, if Drive overextends here, then yeah, he can still lose this game. There's a lot of tanks. Zone Troopers can get crushed by Scorps too. I expect these Scorps will just rush in and kill these tanks. Yeah, Drive for some reason left his base. He had a great position there. You know, he could have had a sonic emitter down, used his base as a deterrent. But this is now problematic. Shoktrepet is now rushing into this base despite losing the Redeemer. Has mustered a huge army of Scorpion tanks. 1, 2 harvesters for a 3rd harvester down. All of these harvesters just getting popped. And there's nothing left back in the base. There's the tier 3. So he can still build a Mar. But that was catastrophic. He lost so many of his harvesters there. There's no ground forces for Drive. His army just got destroyed. The sonic emitter falls, and yeah, there's just nothing left here. Shoktrepet takes a surprising victory in the final game on Odyssey. Who would have saw that coming? Drive looked like he was out of it, then Shoktrepet looked like he was out of it, and then Drive somehow managed to throw it by, you know, leaving his base when he could have just stayed there. But it's hard to make these calls and judgments as a player. It's easier to say this as a caster. But yeah, that was a really fun series to watch. Congratulations to Shoktrepet for taking that 5-3 Really fun series. I don't regret casting this one. R19 so far, and the games that have been on it have been just great in my opinion. Of course, I'm the one who made the patch, but it's just logical, the decisions and changes that were made inside of it. Of course, I had a lot of help from other players as far as the balance changes and suggestions goes. Even pro modders such as the Hostile Negotiator had some input on the changes. Like I presented him with a problem and he's like, oh yeah, instead of changing that, you should do that instead. And that was much appreciated. But yeah, that was a nice series. I enjoyed casting that one, and I hope you all enjoyed watching it. And if you did, then don't forget to smash that like button. And if you want to support me on Patreon to do more of these types of videos, then head on over to Patreon and support me with whatever amount you like. Anyways, guys, I will see you all next time. Peace out.